Right, good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Not bad.
This is the last time I talked to you, 2.5 seconds ago.
Something like that, aye. Anyway, good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
David was just telling me how we're being attacked by Salvo and Liberation Scott. I don't know what fuck.
No, it's basically it was because David mentioned about rather than going through the UN, go through the European Court of Human Rights. And in actual fact, the Scottish UN delegation that did the work prior to the Scottish Parliament being set up ended up going through the Council of Europe.
Yes.
Rather than the United Nations because nothing was happening.
Yes.
Right. So, and that we were attacked for that. What? When I say attacked, it was, you don't call that an attack.
We have said as many irons as a fire is all good, whether we believe these particular irons are working.
My response to that was, are we not entitled to an opinion? Obviously not.
Apparently not.
Anything that we say that is anything, there's a full stop or a comma is changed in the salvo, then we get it in the neck.
I don't understand why. I've said to think the work they've done in world laws is quite invaluable. We both said as many irons as in the fire as possible. And well, guess what? Salvo and Liberation Scott, maybe a case in the European Court of Human Rights on our right to self-determine being suppressed might also be a useful other iron in the fire.
Yes.
Well, as you all know, folks, David and I know the only way this is going to be resolved is democratically.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what happens. Let's say it did go through the UN, it did get sorted out. It would end up where maybe even I've heard the UN would run a referendum for us.
Yes.
But it would still be a referendum. It would still be
a democratic event.
The tricks mob, the MI5 and all the rest of it, right? To get the thing fiddled with, right? You would still have the effect of, well, whatever it would be at the time, the three amigos, right? Farage, Kemi Badenoch, and Starmer, or whoever comes after them, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, what can I say?
So it's still going to end in a democratic event, David.
Yeah.
But as many irons in the fire, we might not believe that this was the right route to go, or whether we might not believe it'll work. But that doesn't mean we don't welcome it being there.
You know? Yeah, the best idea would be where we have a de facto election, which is we use either this coming election or we use a general election.
It would best be suited to a general election, I believe, David. But let's move on, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, first up today, First Minister's quite predictable, isn't it?
Right.
Folks, I don't know if you have noticed this, so we'll make it easy. What will happen is the cuckoos in the nest will attack the Scottish Government on finance. The Scottish Government will point out there's been austerity and that their budgets have been cut.
Yes.
And then the cuckoos in the nest will go, grievance politics, all roads don't lead to Westminster, when we know fucking fine well they do. So will we get into today's grievance politics, David?
Yeah, well, I did a run of different posting, different things about the Tories standing up in the Holyrood, mentioned things, right? Every single thing that they brought up was reserved, right? And at the end of the day, because they stand up, because it ends up as a YouTube video that they can punt about, we need somehow to be able to counteract that, because these people are obviously talking to other people that haven't got a single brain cell in their heads. They don't understand that a devolved government has certain powers that it can exercise, and also there are certain things held by the central government, which is Westminster, to where it's reserved to them.
But there's also when you get right down to it, everything that goes on in Scotland is ultimately controlled by Westminster because the finance is controlled from there.
Right.
Now, let's get into it, shall we? First Minister's question today. First one to get arse kicked was Russell Finlay. Now, he went on the Audit Scotland latest unsustainability report. The thing about Audit Scotland, folks, is David and I have explained this before. These fucking idiots have got nothing right in 25 years. Since their inception, they've been telling us that our public services are unsustainable.
I have to say, who the hell refers to Audit Scotland for anything?
The government.
In actual fact, and I asked them what the I don't know, two-man, if there's such a thing as a two-man race in the Grand National, right? Ask them which one's going to win and put all your money on the other one. Simple as that.
Well, anyway, Audit Scotland's been at it again. This time they're on the college sector. So Russell Finlay tells John Swinney, you've cut the college budget by 20%. Thanks, John.
Oh, thank you very much, John. What a minute.
Hi, all. Sorry, that's already been discussed as I am busy in and out of Edinburgh for my work, but as it has been reported, the Palestine flotilla was attacked and intercepted illegally and kidnapped by Israel. We haven't mentioned it yet, but thanks, John. That sort of covers it. Thank you very much for your kind donation. Right, so here we've got Finlay talking about the budget being cut in colleges. Of course, John gets into him about, gives him a slap in the arse about austerity and all that sort of thing. You know, but John keeps missing I think in this one, John missed the open goal. As we discussed in a previous programme, oh, fuck off notifications. As we discussed in a previous programme, David, the Scottish Government budget since 2011 has been cut in real terms by 11%.
Yeah, over and above that, don't forget, is it now 60 billion that we are now lying where they haven't paid us?
Yeah.
I've asked them for the money, and they went, no.
Well, anyway, but the capital budget, of course, over the same period has been cut by 22.9%.
Yes.
So, of course, the SNPs had to cut the cloth right across the public sectors accordingly, and John points this out to Finlay. You know, no very politely either. He smacks him with it.
Yeah.
And
but I could just as easily smack the people, most of the people of Scotland by saying, unless you get a blooming move on, right? Situation like this, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Anyway, to see John takes him apart, slaps his ass. John was in good form today. Second up was the Red Tory branch office manager, Poverty Pie Sarwar, and he went on the same Audit Scotland report, right? And he also brings up the case of a college campus in Alloa, which might have to close, right, because of funding. Now, of course, John tells Sarwar he's taking no lessons for him. They're looking at trying to save this campus in Alloa if they can, and that we hadn't let the young people down. 93% of them leave school and go into a positive destination.
Yep.
And he then hits him with a big one. And that is, and he's taking no lessons for him because Scotland and his government is the only part of the UK that's bringing child poverty down.
Yeah.
You know, which of course is going to be a big subject coming up to this budget. Will she, won't she, drop the 2-child cap?
I don't know. She must be wringing her hands right at the moment. What do I do? Which section of the poor community can I take this off of? Take money off of, right? Why don't you take some money off the rich people? Oh no, we can't do that, you know.
So Annis gets slapped and all, and gets sent off to the naughty step where he belonged. The third cuckoo in the nest doesn't get a mention, except for once a month now. So the Greens, where did the Greens go? And they went on the Land Reform Bill and said it's no went far enough. It doesn't get into the fact that so few own so much of Scotland, and that so little of Scotland's owned by the people of Scotland. And he's got a damn fine point.
Yeah, you imagine it. Somebody with a sporting estate, I don't know, let's say it was 700-800 acres, right? And let's say they've got to pay, I don't know, £100,000 per acre per year. Straight away, oh, that's a decent old bill to get to hand somebody like that. Yeah. And what might happen is we end up with all these sporting estates that come into public ownership.
Well,
that'd be nice.
We'll do that with some sort of land tax after we get out of this fucking union. But hey, we got super chatting for Duncan. Thank you, Duncan. Good afternoon, all, especially Davey. Please, more rants, David, and please take me down the rabbit hole. Other David. Your wish shall be granted at some point, but maybe no right. So the game, wee Ross has got after a flyer. I have to say that him and Zach Polanski are making a bit of an impact for the Greens, eh?
Well, yeah, definitely. Wee Ross, brilliant, absolutely superb, really, really good. I'm well impressed. I really am well impressed with him.
Aye.
Yeah.
Right. So that was basically, there was a couple of questions came through the flare as well. John was asked about the Freedom Flotilla and the 4 Scots that were on it. And he said he'd speak to the Home Office about them. And the other thing that was mentioned in the questions was a subject we're going to get onto later, and that was an attack in Manchester this morning outside a religious establishment.
Well, right. Can I just bring that one in, right? It's like it's noted that several things could have happened in the UK. Yeah, like multiple car accident, that sort of thing, right? A pile up on the M1 or whatever, right? However, there was an attack in a synagogue in Manchester.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, all right. And Herr Starmer had to jump the car and head to Manchester as quick as possible. Right.
Well, actually, he was out the country. He was flying back to hold a Cobra meeting, but we'll get there.
And then John Swinney.
David, can we get there?
All right. Let me finish. Right. John Swinney is asking the Home Office, the Foreign Office, about those 4 Scots that are now being held by Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you, if you could manage to tuck right into Keir Starmer's soul and get the real thing off him, he's probably thinking they can rot in an Israel jail for the rest of the time. That's it, seriously. We've got a Zionist.
What's happening with the Manchester thing that later in the report, then we'll get a wee bit deeper.
We have a Zionist that runs the country's president.
David, when we get to that on the storyline, please.
The people that are in that synagogue, David, the people that are in that synagogue are Jewish. I've got no argument with them whatsoever. Zionists I do.
But we also don't have a subject at number 7 to talk about now.
Why is that?
Because you've just covered it.
So what?
So later in the show, we're going to have to.
David, be flexible, please. Pick your bit up.
The reason why I said we'll talk about it later, David, was because we have it as a subject.
Yeah, okay. That's okay.
I need to pick it up. I need the numbers in the next story. That's where we're going to tell it. If I can find it. Where are we? Right, number 2. 4 polls in the bounds show a yes majority here in Scotland, which is unusual.
Yeah, but the thing is, again, waiting. What we're talking about that. What do we We will learn about this issue.
Well, actually, the waiting's what we're going to go into. Anyway, the poll shows 53% to 47% for yes. And once again, folks, we're within the margin of error, and there's a reason for that. And David's just mentioned it, it's the weighting.
Yes.
It's still being weighted against the 2014. But the reason we're bringing this one up is people are starting to question this, David. We've got James Kelly out at Scott Goes Pop, who does the poll analysis that I like to look at. He breaks this one down and thinks the yes vote could be as high as 68 to 32 yes and 32 no. And the reason why he thinks like that, as I say, is because the way it's weighted. It's still weighted against a demographic which is no longer relevant.
Yeah.
So
at the end of the day,
it is starting to be, and even Professor Curtis is starting to question this.
Yeah, well, it suits, most definitely suits the unionists, the fact that we've got these polls that sit round about the 50%, right? But we've got a poll that was carried out by the UK government under Mr. Gov, right? And he was ordered by the court to produce the results.
He did.
And we found out it was at 72% wanted independence from Scotland, Scottish independence, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, were these unweighted figures? I don't know.
I don't know if it was 72%, but Cam sent me the results. I can't mind off the top of my head, but it was quite high.
Yeah, I remember it being 70.
As I say, this is starting to be questioned.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because the thing is, it's beginning to look like the weighting is like that deliberately, so that it keeps it at a 50-50, and it means that Westminster can look at the polls and point to the polls and say,
yeah, no.
They can say nothing's changed.
Yeah. Well,
see, this has been put on a question. The other thing about that poll was there was also a poll in there for the Holyrood election, but what James Kelly concentrated on was the Alpa Party, and he was talking about how, if they were to stand in any constituencies, they would only manage to amass 1% support. And he points out that this is also the fourth poll that says they won't get enough to win a seat in the regions and the second part of the vote, because you need about 5% to be able to score a list seat.
Yeah, the list seats don't come in until you've got a decent coverage or amount.
Gazzy's put a number up, 73% it was for yes, David.
Yeah.
So that'll be why I didn't want that out.
Yeah, what I'm saying is it possible that poll was an unweighted poll?
Aye, probably. You see, because when James looked at the unweighted figures in this particular poll,
yeah,
it quite clearly showed that when you took the don't knows out, it was 68 yes and 32 no.
So let's.
But if you want to see it, the video's on my timeline, folks.
Yeah, but if you figure it logically, right? Why are we still using the 2014 independence referendum figures?
Well, as has been pointed out in the comments, I'll get it for you. The change in demographic, here it's here. As the figure of 500,000 over 65s in 2014 have now passed, well, 500,000 have now passed away, being replaced by under 27 voters. And we know that the young predominantly are for the yes side, yeah. Okay. Well, I've round table tonight, folks, for anybody that's interested in Reagan the Week's channel. And apparently he'll be joined by Witchy Goth. I've not seen much of what Witchy suit, so I'm going to tune in.
I did notice, appealing aside, I did notice that Maximilian Robespierre is putting out an awful lot of TikTok videos, short videos, Some interesting stuff. You've got a chance to look them up. Some of the Maximilian's always been good. Yeah. So.
Aye. So what James Kelly was saying was, if you're going to be throwing your second vote at the Alpha Party at this point in time, because he's not expecting any more people to go vote for the Alpha Party. So what he's telling the people in the Alpha Party is that you're wasting your time. It's just a waste of votes that could go to other parties. Which I thought was quite harsh. But interesting. Now, at number 3, we've got a good news story.
Oh, yes.
You wrote this one up. Clyde and Hebridean ferries brought into public hands.
Yep.
Transport Scotland and CalMac agreed $4 billion deal over 10 years to run the Clyde and Hebridean ferries.
Yeah.
Now, Clyde and Hebridean ferries were being run as a commercial interest in the old contract, which was also being run by CalMac. But in the new contract, it will be a public service.
Yeah, so in actual fact, it's a bit like in that sense, it's a bit like a murder, right? Yep. And the one advantage they've got straight away is on employees.
Yep, we got a bigger pool.
As a resource. If you imagine that they end up with a much bigger resource.
Yep.
Being part of that, right? And they're going to do two extra
services today.
Yeah. One to Arran, one to Barra, right? Yep. And this will be good for the people of the islands. Really will.
The main thing is, when it comes to using these services, with it being a public service rather than a commercial route, the road equivalent tariff will apply, which means that these ferry services should get cheaper than what they currently are.
We already have an equivalent of miles transport. You know, so in other words, they work out the figure you pay for the particular ticket on the boat is the same as if there was a road that took you to that island.
What it would cost you to drive it, David.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, Transport Secretary Fiona Hislop says service will now be run as a public service, where new routes will be added. And apparently they'll update the fleet over the next 10 years as well. So it looks like Ferguson's might get the odd contract here and there after all.
Our ferry services, contrary to the union's point of view, are bloody excellent, right? And also we have the wee jewel in the crown, nothing to do with Caledonian McBrain or anything like that, is a Waverley that goes up and down the Clyde, and it's beautiful.
Well, as I say, it's a good news story. Once again, we're bringing services back into public hands.
Yeah.
And of course, with being a public service, it'll also get a wee bit cheaper for the users.
Yeah.
And hopefully more reliable. If we look at CalMac, it's the second or third most reliable ferry service in the world. It's one of the cheapest in the world. It's a very it's got very high operating standards.
Yeah.
And it runs to about 95-96% on schedule, on its timetable, with, of course, the odd disruption for weather.
Yeah.
Which is bloody amazing, considering the conditions there is heading out that way in the Western Isles. So it is. But another good news story, another SNP good story, which won't be in the press.
Yeah.
It won't be, folks. This is not a story you'll find on the BBC, I don't think. Maybe get it in the National, David, eh?
Maybe.
Anyway, let's go on to these ID cards again. Swinney's getting a real anti of this, isn't he? No, he's not pleased at all.
Yeah, well, it seems none of us are pleased at that. You know, there will be people that their tails will be wagging, oh, a Brit cab, I want a Brit cab. They don't realise what that's actually going to do to them.
Oh, it's going to be really intrusive in their lives, that's for sure.
Yeah. You know,
And when we, I think one of the things that's hardening John up is who's getting the contract to produce it.
I saw a lovely, beautiful video made the other day there, right? And it was the Daleks were in charge of the Brit card administration, right? And it showed you an old woman, right? Show me your Brit card, right? And she says, I don't have one because I don't have a phone. Ends up shooting her.
Exterminate. Well, anyway,
So,
come to light that Tony Blair's son Ewan and his company, which is called Multiverse, are going to get a 1.7 billion contract to develop the Brit card.
Yeah.
So see, mere public money being sparked up against the wall, because unless they're going to dump Northern Ireland and get out of the Good Friday Agreement, then this Brit card's no happening.
Really, when you think about it, somebody could set up a political party purely and simply on, we guarantee you will not own a Brit card if you vote us in. Huh?
Don't give Nigel any more ideas.
Huh?
Don't give Nigel any more ideas. But I mean, you can see it, can't you? The fucking cronyism and this Blairite project, which is Starmer, and now the Blair family are going to make a fucking fortune at it. Know that Ewan Blair's no already made a fortune out of Multiverse, because he has.
Do you want to know something there? I don't. The child of a politician, right? I really don't have a problem with getting on, enjoy, have a good life, right? However, Tony Blair has a lot of shares in his son's business.
I don't know that, but what I do know is that Ewan's share of the business was worth 44 million, and the business is worth 1.4 billion, and they're just about to get a government contract handed to them. There's not going to even be a bidding process. It's going to be handed to them, to the tune of 1.7 billion our money, for something that most days don't want.
Well, do you want a card issued by the son of a war criminal? Answers on a postage stamp, please.
So you can't, not going to hold the boy responsible for the crimes of his father. But I am going to hold this Blairite Starmerite project responsible for cronyism on the same scale as the Tories.
The sins of the father shall be visited upon the son. There you go.
So let's use religious fuckers. We'll use religious fuckers are visiting the sins of the fathers on the sons.
Yeah.
The rest of us will just go on with no blaming the boy for what his dad did. But I am going to question the cronyism in it, David.
Yeah.
Because that's the angle here.
Yeah.
The Starmer project is an extension and a completion of the Blairite project, taking Labour from the left to the right.
They're all tied. They're all pissed in the same pot, right? If you now look at the fact that Blair is going to be the Governor General of the new Gaza, right?
The US territory of Gaza.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, fuck's sake, man. It's getting rather mucky, rather disgusting. Yeah.
Right, here in Scotland, we've got a weather warning, David.
Yes.
Storm Amy is incoming over the next couple of days, and it's now being upgraded from a yellow warning to an amber warning.
Yeah.
It's going to expect heavy rains, floods, and potentially power outages in areas where trees tend to fall on top of power lines.
One thing I have to say, and it's something that a lot of people don't realise, keep your windows closed. Because see, when the wind's like blowing like that, it blows more at one side of the house than it does the other side, right? And if it so happens, if there's an open window, the difference in pressure can cause the other windows on the opposite side of the house to get blown out. So be careful of that.
I want to talk to you. I'll go easier if that happens to my windies.
Yeah, but that's after the fact, isn't it?
Yes, aye.
Yeah.
But
close my escaping clothes as much as possible.
Some of your viewers, including myself, live in areas where power outages happen regularly in bad weather.
Yeah.
So, folks, get yourself prepared.
Yeah.
If you need candles, get candles or batteries for your torch. Power up your power banks. And if you only have electricity as a form of fuel, like in my village, get yourself some alternative forms of heating.
Yeah, or something warm put round about you.
I mean, it's only going to be a day or two worth of high winds and rotten weather. We're used to that here in Scotland, but it could be quite a dramatic couple of days.
It's the fact that it's been increased from a yellow warning to an amber warning. And it's like that's what made David and I both look at it and go, we need to mention this when normally we wouldn't mention a weather exit. Right. So something like that. All right. Be careful, guys.
And Andy's hanging out the window having a fag now, David. And Andy, that weather's due to hit you about 4 or 5 hours before it hits us, big man. But say, folks, just if you're planning a journey over the next couple of days, take note of the weather. If you live in a flood zone, get your sandbags out, maybe. And if you live in a rural area like myself, where power outages can happen and high winds, then get yourself prepared. It's only a couple of days, we'll get out of it, we always do.
Yeah.
But get yourself prepared. And if it hits our night tonight and there's no Indie Truck Davy tomorrow morning, you know there's been a power outage. No, sorry, I'll charge up my phone, I'll just waffle without putting the pictures up.
You're waffling.
So, folks, you have been warned. You have been warned that there is a storm coming. Get yourself prepped, all right? Okay. Because one of the big problems we have during these storms is people wander out in conditions where they shouldn't really be out, David.
Also, people open the windows to have a fag.
Listen, anyway. I mean, no matter if it's a bloody storm, the window's getting open to hang out and have a fag.
Did you know the hurricane ball bag, right?
Aye.
The flats beside us, three double.
I know what it is.
It lifted the entire roof off.
Aye, I've seen that.
The roof ended up in the next door neighbour's garden. I was building the framework for my decking, and I got part of the roof on that as well, right?
Did you repurpose it for your shed?
There was a guy in his bed during the night, and he looked up, and the roof disappeared. Seriously, and he was hanging on to his bed. Wasn't going to get sucked out, you know?
That sounds scary, man. Right, let's move on to Starmer's keynote speech, shall we?
Yeah.
As we move down that road at the conference. Now, he covered flag shagging. Apparently, we should all be proud and patriotic about our flags.
I think you need to look into the soul of somebody who's kind of flagged for whatever reason. Some people are kind of flagged for some pretty horrible reasons. Right?
And some of them carry them for good reasons.
For good reasons, right.
And then, of course, he had a go at Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
Which is about fucking time.
So the Keir Starmer version of a jihad which Starmer has been performed. Sorry, super chat, 21. Just one more before I finish my break. Do you think that with ScotRail and Calmac bring public run now, both might be called ScotRail? So please also read my last comment. Okay, all right, John.
They would think they could both be amalgamated and just called ScotRail. I don't know. I'd need to look for your previous comment.
ScotTrav. ScotTrav?
It's got something.
Yeah. No, Scott Trail. Scott Trail. That's the one. Yeah. Interesting.
It's not a bad idea. Just roll them out. An integrated service. It's a good idea, actually, John.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea at all. I like it.
Yeah.
And thanks again for the super chat, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That one threw me off here. So flag shagging. Apparently, Stammer's proud of all our flags. And that we should all be patriotic and take our flags back for Farage and his boats. Which is about time somebody told it as it is. They are fucking Farage's small boats.
It was the author that wrote 1984. What do they call him again? What's the guy's name again? What do they call him?
In the comments, please, who wrote the book 1984? It was George Orwell.
1984. George Orwell, right? Yeah, actually, I watched something this morning with him on, right? And he talked about patriotism versus nationalism. And he said patriotism is good because all the good things and all the rest of it, whereas nationalism is projecting national power and all the rest of it, right? And you've got to look at that from the point of view of it depends on which nationalist you're on about. The nationalism that is being performed by, say, the Nazis during the Second World War, right? Fair enough. Okay, that we all know what that was like. But when you look at the National Party of Scotland, Scottish National Party, not the Scottish Nationalist Party, it's like we have what's it, the civic nationalism.
Right, so flag shagging and Farage's boats, and then he moved on to the right of asylum, the right of asylum seekers. And we're going to get a wee bit more of that actually right after this particular segment.
Yeah.
Because there's something that's no right with this. And this clamping down on asylum seekers' rights and things like that. But we'll get to that in a wee minute. And then, of course, he also wanted to focus on the young doing that road and apprenticeships. Because he needs to try and offer something to the kids. There's nothing happening down that road. 93% of them don't go into positive outcomes. You know, youth unemployment down that road is very, very high. So he's wanting to change that. And then he spoke about the tough decisions ahead in the budget up and coming, which was pretty boring. So the guy's as dull as dishwasher water. So why is it that all these nut jobs are clapping them like fucking seals?
I listened to some of them coming out the conference, right? And they were gushing. They were going, oh, it's wonderful to hear him talk about the migrants in such a way. I'd lost heart in the Labour Party, and now I'm reinvigorated again, thinking that Keir Starmer is a good man and he will do all the right things for everyone. You know, let's say, please.
Really? Well, just as well we're moving on to this one then, because this one's quite chilly.
It is chilly.
Because Keir Starmer, in pandering to the right, wants to change how international law is interpreted when it comes to the rights of asylum seekers and the rights to a family life. Shall we play the video?
Yeah.
This one's fucking scary, people. Where are we? Share.
I do think we need to look again at the interpretation of some of these provisions. And we've already begun to do that work, Nick, in some of our domestic legislation. We do need to look at that.
So that's what's called Article 3, isn't it?
It's Article 3 or Article 8. They're the two that are most immediately in play.
Right. Well, we'll pause that a wee minute, folks.
David, you need to explain to people what Article 3 is, what Article 8 is. So
that's why I'm pausing it, David. Okay, I'll put that back up in a minute. First we'll put up Article 3 of the Human Rights Act, and then we'll put up Article 8 of the Human Rights Act. Article 3 of the Human Rights Act, which incorporates Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, the ECHR, into UK law, prohibits torture and inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. This right is absolute, meaning it cannot be restricted even in the times of war or public emergency, and protects individuals from suffering extreme ill treatment and making them feel worthless or hopeless. So that's Article 3.
Can I just stop you there, right? Imagine the situation whereby you are walking through the town in Glasgow or whatever, right? Wherever it is, right? And you get picked up by the police for something you didn't do, but they've wrongly identified you as somebody that did whatever, right? They take you in the police station and they kick 7 bells out of you, right? At the moment, that would be highly illegal. That would be the police would actually, if they found out about it, the police would be sacked, right? Whereas you take away that, it means that they can do what they like, when they like, any time. They can keep 7 bells a year, no problem whatsoever. Right?
Article 8 of the Human Rights Act protects everyone's right to respect for their private and family life, their home, and their correspondence. This is a qualified right, meaning public authorities can interfere with it under specific circumstances, but the interference must be in accordance with the law for a legitimate aim, like national security, preventing crime, or protecting public safety.
Yeah, again, look at the other side of that, right? Take away the European Convention on Human Rights. Not take that away, but alter that particular Article 8, right? What would that mean for a normal person, perhaps a woman, part of a family, with a husband, a couple of kids, and all the rest of it? What could happen?
We don't need a scenario, David.
Yeah.
We need to get back to why it is he wants to change them.
No, but you need to actually give people a human example of what could be done in that situation.
We're just about to give him one. Mr. Stammer's going to do it.
Right, go on then.
But anyway, at the end of Article 8, it says that any measures to infringe on Article 8 must be proportionate. When they talk about infringing your right to family life, your right to your private life, your right to privacy within your correspondence, that sort of thing, and any interference that the state they have in that area must be justifiable and it must be proportionate. So let's get back to Mr. Stammer again, shall we?
Okay.
And then we'll start this back up again.
But it's more than that. It's the refugee conventions, it's the torture conventions, it's Convention on the Rights of the Children. I'm not going to tear all that down. I believe in those instruments. I believe in the rule of law, and I think they matter. But all international instruments, and this is long established, have to be applied in the circumstances as they are now. We're seeing mass migration in a way that we haven't seen in previous years. So I believe that those genuinely fleeing persecution should be afforded asylum, and that is a compassionate act. But I equally think we need to look at the interpretation of some of these provisions. And I think there's a difference between someone being deported to summary execution and someone who is simply going somewhere where they don't have the same level of healthcare, or for that matter, the same prison conditions. And therefore I do think we should look at issues like that again. I think there's quite an appetite to look at issues like that again. But what I don't think is right is to pull these instruments down, not least because very many other countries would then not do deals like return deals with us or law enforcement deals with us, and therefore it'd be completely self-defeating.
Well, you take that apart bit by bit. I mean, the best thing I can do is give you the situation that my own situation, right? I lived in England for 18 years. Came up here, right? Imagine I was being deported back down to England. Yeah. I get down there and I would have nothing to reference, no job, nothing at all. Nobody I know would be down there now, as far as that's concerned. Maybe the odd one, maybe somebody I didn't like, you know. So the situation, you can imagine someone going back to their original country that they've run away from. That has got to be a serious situation. And it's not a case of being particularly killed. They may just be going back to a situation that is dreadful.
So what he's saying is he wants to reinterpret these laws to make it to allow him to deport people, asylum seekers, and he wants to ignore the Article 8 and Article 3. For example, in Article 3, what he wants to do is he wants to have a look at the prison service to be sent to, and he'll have a look and say, well, it's inhumane. The torture goes on there. So fuck, it's a prison service. Send them. He wants to look at the health services where they're gone, because these are some of the reasons why the courts won't allow people to be deported, right? They're going to deport, and let's look at the health service where this person in our prison with a serious illness has got and where they're gone. So he is alluding the health service can't deal with their treatment. So fuck, they've got a health service, send them. That's the sort of thing he's talking about. Right? Or let's say I'm an Irishman and I'm married to you because we're a gay couple, right? We have no kids. So I end up in court. I get deported saying, fuck his family life. They're no kids anyway, so just send them. That's the sort of situation we're talking about. He wants to specifically lower the bar on human rights, especially Article 3 and Article 8 when it applies to asylum seekers. Folks, that is the slippery slope. Because
we're talking about someone who used to be a human rights lawyer.
That's the kicker, that's the punchline.
Effectively, what he's done is, because he's been a human rights lawyer, it gives him the inside track to be able to ruin people's human rights. Some of that. You know, destroy human rights. There you are. There's a guy to do it.
But as I say, he wants to lower the bar on the rights of asylum seekers. You lower the bar on them, it's only a step further.
But when you lower the bar on them, you lower the bar on everybody else, because how it's interpreted at the end of the day.
Exactly. Now, folks, there are no human rights if we do not all have equal human rights.
Correct.
And what that man was talking about there was not equal human rights for all. He was talking about reinterpreting international law for some people, but no for others.
Yeah.
And that takes us back to George fucking Orwell, actually, and his warning. Because you can't take away his rights without taking away mine. You can't lower the standard on his rights without lowering the standard in mine. Because human rights are fucking universal.
And also, you've got to take into account that the person that you might be looking at them, they might be a horrible person. And you go, well, I want everything horrible. You cannot use that. You cannot put in place something that will deal with that horrible person, because it takes away from your human rights as well. Right?
As I say,
story.
And pandering to the right folks, we've just seen a scary side of this guy. He, supposedly a human rights lawyer, wants to restrict the human rights of some people while protecting the human rights of others. Human rights are universal. So if you take away one person's rights, you're taking away everybody's rights.
Right. Because it all comes down to judicial interpretation, not an individual's interpretation. You've got to consider that this is judicial interpretation. The barristers, the lawyers, the advocates will all sit there and go, what can I make that mean? That's what it comes down to. It's how it's put in front of a court. So there you go. ECHR, Human Rights Act 2000, 2002, 2012. Just don't touch them.
That is the point we were making, Kevin. It is Orwell. Some have more rights than others. Animal farm.
Yeah, that's right.
As I say, folks, what you just seen was something very scary. And I mean that. Because if you're going to start to fuck about with the Human Rights Act, which is universal, and only apply human rights to some and no all, then none of us have any rights. None.
The simple way for Scotland, luckily we have a get out of jail free card, which is independence, independence, independence. I keep saying it, guys. It's a simple solution, really is. We need to be away from Westminster and all these idiotic people like Farage, Kemi Badenoch, Starmer, whoever. They don't think the same as us.
No, they don't. Which brings us to the Manchester incident.
Yes.
Folks, it's now been declared a terrorist attack. It could have been a family fighting their mother's affair, a husband fighting with a wife and a lover, but it was always going to be a terrorist attack.
Well,
Sympathy for.
we don't know enough about it yet, Dave. But at the end of the day, it's like, yes, I get your point. I do get your point.
And Starmer flew back for a European meeting because this was an attack in a Jewish community on the holy day, Yom Kippur, where the Day of Atonement, it's called, where they atone for their sins. It could even be something as domestic involved in that, but it was always going to be a terrorist act. Sympathy for the state of Israel is very low here in the UK, but as far as I was aware, there was nobody attacking synagogues. But it had to happen because, let's face it, they're burning fucking migrant hotels with Muslims in it. So it doesn't matter whether this was a domestic dispute or actually a revenge attack by some Palestinian man. It doesn't matter what one it was. It was always going to be an act of terrorism.
Yeah, I think in this particular case, David, we'll have to wait until we get more information.
I'll tell you something. I bet you a pound to a fucking penny. If that had been an attack on a mosque, Starmer would have jumped in a bloody plane back.
David, you can bet. I understand that, but you have to wait and see what the actual details are that come out of this. See what the mainstream media actually put out there. Could be a load of shite, but there's a lot of times when it's a load of shite, you actually see through it, right? So don't worry about it, all right?
What annoys me is there have been more frequent attacks in mosques. He's never jumped a plane and come back and convened a Cobra meeting about attacking the mosque.
Yeah. You know, there's the people are hurt when the Orange Walk goes through Glasgow, and it's there are Catholic churches that are hit by the Orange Walk. At the end of the day, it's like you could say, well, John Swinney didn't run back to that. Simple as that, you know. So at the end of the day, let's wait until we've got the information, please. All right. We know that Keir Starmer is It's a Jewish family he's got. So therefore, it would affect him personally.
Well, I don't think so. His family's not in Manchester. But it might. His extended family may be there.
Yeah, we don't know enough about it. So
I know this much. He's never jumped on a plane to come back and sort out an attack in a mosque.
all right, okay.
I can assure you, no.
Next.
As I say, this is serious. This will be used to clamp down on people's freedoms.
Maybe. I don't know. But at the same time, let's wait until we get more information.
But David, to be fair, it's not going to clamp down on mine or your freedoms. It's not going to clamp down the people of Scotland's freedoms. This will be used to clamp down the people of England's freedoms, especially the freedom to protest about what's going on in Palestine. You know, you can see this being used for that purpose. Now, I feel sorry for anybody else that's been attacked in that particular incident, for whatever reason that incident was. As I say, the reason why I said it was going to be classed as a terrorist attack, no matter what it was because sympathy for the UK government's role and the Israeli genocide in Gaza isn't there.
Mm.
But so far, I've seen more Jewish people walking with the pro-Palestinian protesters than what I have seen out.
Let's look at the other side of that coin. Let's look at the other side of that coin. The other side of that coin is here we have granddads, grandmas, and all the rest of it being locked up as terrorists because they support Palestine action.
Aye.
So the characterization of something being terrorist in the UK is obviously well down the pecking order, obviously.
There's a very good point, David. That is.
Very
good point.
Somebody held up a news agent in Clydebank, and the police have got it down as being a terrorist action. Yeah, simple as that. Come on, guys. All right. At the end of the day, let's wait until we've got more information on this. All right.
No, I think we've got maced it now.
No.
We're getting on to we're getting. Karen knife using incident.
Yeah.
8 people dead, 2 stabbed, and 1 shot with a police.
Hmm.
The rest of it we're not going to hear about. We really ain't.
Right.
So that was a Manchester attack, and we don't really have time to go into Trump, I'm afraid. Trump and his big meeting with his generals.
I would actually simply say that the information that we have to hand is that Trump's strategy, which David will quickly tell you what it is going to be adopted in the UK.
Well, that's if Farage gets the power again, but I don't think he will. 4 years, but he'll be done, Farage. But Trump right now called in all his generals and told them that they're going to war with the American people. And I thought that's funny, but it's no. And the strategy is to block in next year's midterms. Because after next year's midterms, Trump's an empty vessel for 2 years.
You figure about any one of our leaders in the UK, in the middle of a war, we tended not to have any elections, did we? So therefore, being at war means you have no election. Best idea is if you've got a civil war taking place, wow.
Definitely no elections.
You're not going to have any elections whatsoever.
No. They say, I think Trump's wanting to clamp down to make sure that there's no midterm.
Well,
and then, of course, the next obvious step is to make sure there's nobody elected after him until he's dead.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Would Farage use similar tactics here? Yes.
I would
use similar tactics here.
I would really hope that those generals who actually stood up and said, I swore an oath to the Constitution of America, not a human being, They may keep their trap shut now, but they're forced. They will deal with enemies, both internal and external. The weight being on the internal.
Now, apparently there's going to be some protests later today in Glasgow and across the UK at 5:30 today in response to the Freedom Flotilla being boarded and taken in. Anyway, as I say, folks, Trump at the beginning of his hour-long speech to these generals said he'd never walked into a quiet room.
No.
And they laughed, and then he threatened their position when he told them that they were there to do what he says. Basically, you know,
you won't have a job.
You won't have a rank. You won't have a job.
Yeah.
If you don't do what I say. And he's getting them ready to hit the Americans.
Seriously, I'm not worried about America, where it's going, all the rest of it, right? I'm worried about the American military-industrial complex, because if all they've got is that military-industrial complex, it means then the whole world is basically on tenterhooks. Something like that.
Aye. Right, David, that's 17:01, and I start work in 29 minutes, so I'm going to get my hookie out the door.
Right.
Folks, that's it for David and I this week. I'll be back tomorrow morning, provided the weather permits it, for one last round of the newspapers this week. Now, as I say, that's this month's allocation to food banks out, folks. It went to Kate's Kitchen in Annan. It went to some cafe, the cafe food bank in Stranraer. I forgot the name off my top of the head. And today I went down to the bank to give 250 to Apex Food Bank in Dumfries. So that's out the door. And each of these organisations says they would give the show and use lovely audience members a mention on their Facebook pages. Okay.
They could actually do that if they came on and watched the show. They could make a comment. Maybe that's something we need to be mentioned to them. If you want to,
I'll be at work at this time, David.
Yeah, if you want to thank the people, and what to do is we've given you this money. Now come on, watch the show. It's on Monday and a Thursday, 4 o'clock, and leave a comment thanking the people for the money.
No, there's not something to say to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, per character bowing down saying thank you, or bowing down saying thank you. What am I saying, bowing down? Thank you, Heather. Right, there you go, folks. Catch you later. Eyes on the prize. Prize is 2026. Keep the pressure on.
And don't forget, independence, 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 as they say in Scotland.
Bye for now.